Hello everyone and welcome to my talk, which is on how to be an ally, specifically how to be a male ally of women in lighting. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Neil Knowles. I work for Elektra Lighting. We are a design consultancy based in London and we work on a variety of projects, mostly hospitality, retail, landscaping, facade, commercial, residential. We've been going for 22 odd years, and unfortunately, these are the only nice pictures of lighting you are going to see during this presentation. We're going to move on to all sorts of other things after this. So the first question first thing to say, sorry, is sorry to crash the party. I know this is an event for women in lighting, and I'm plainly not one, but I am here to help. And this talk is aimed at men who want to help, but either don't know what to do, and it's also aimed at men who don't want to help but really should know better and attempt to educate. I'm not claiming to be an expert in these sort of things, but I have read a reasonable amount about it, and I'm just trying to spread that knowledge from what I've learned from other better educated people. So the first thing to do is to identify what an ally is. In this instance, an ally of women is someone who makes the commitment and effort to recognize that they're privileged, you have privilege, and aims to try and help. It's not just women. This method applies to all discriminated groups, but as we're talking about women in lighting, I'm going to focus on that with examples and so on drawn in this particular way. So the first question that people are asking, men in particular might be asking, was, well, why should I? Well, you kind of know this already. Societies that have a higher gender equality have a whole host of other socioeconomic indicators that are better. Longer life expectancy, better education, higher GDP. It's a good thing for society as a whole. But if that doesn't persuade you, then it's actually a good thing for your individual company. If you take a company comprised entirely of what Grayson Perry calls default male, and you ask them a question, you'll get 10 similar answers. If you add in some women, you'll get some different answers. If you add in a whole host of other differences of opinion, different religions, genders, gender identity, sexuality, you'll get a whole host of different answers and a much broader, wider, better solution. So it's better for everyone, and it's better for you, particularly if we work together to end this discrimination. Some people might say, I don't feel I have privilege that I can use, and I would say that you do. It's just so ingrained that you're not used to it. You probably don't realize what other people have. If you don't think you have privilege, I would say, have you ever, as a man, been told to be quiet because men don't know what they're talking about? Have you ever been passed over for promotion and being told that because of your gender, you're not getting it? Have you ever been sexually assaulted at work? I'm pretty much sure the answer to those is no. I'm also quite sure that that there are misogynistic people in the world, and a lot of these people are in positions of power, unfortunately. Some of it is subtle, some of it is explicit. An explicit example of misogyny would be when someone tells you that women should work in the kitchen or something, and that's how they go around and they say these things openly. This is uncommon, and I think that's what people think of as everyday sexism, but a much more subtle one is when people think it but don't say it, and an even more insidious and evil version of it is when people don't really think they are being sexist. It's just the way they've been brought up. They're used to thinking that men have to make tough decisions and are big and are good at things, and women are good at other things, and maybe we should employ the women to do the things that women are good at. This is utter rubbish, and we should be fighting and combating it. The problem is, if you've been interviewed for a few jobs and you've been interviewed on a panel of 2-3 people, there's probably a large number of people who've interviewed you over the course of your career, and some of them will have been sexist, and some of them will have given you the job instead of a woman. And if you've had a company for as long as I have, we've been for a lot of interviews for projects with project managers and clients and so on. I must have done hundreds, if not thousands by now. And some of them would have panels of people who are either entirely or partly misogynist. And I would have got the job because I'm intrinsically better, but because I'm male. And over the years, this adds up. You end up with people over, if you're wondering why there aren't any women as leading FTSE 100 companies, or not many women leading FTSE 100 companies, it is because at some point they will have faced a sexist interview panel and their career would have stopped being meteoric and started to have been okay. And at the end of 2, 3, 4 decades, the only people left with meteoric careers are the men. They are benefiting from ingrained and institutionalized sexism in the workplace. And it is our responsibility as men to use that privilege that we have to help other people. Listen, we're not blaming you. You weren't going to turn the job down and you weren't going to turn the project down. But what I am asking is that you use your privilege and your responsibility to help others. So some concepts before we go any further. Firstly, if you don't help and you just say you're anti-sexist but don't actually do anything about it, that's what's called performative allyship. You're saying it. We're not interested in performative allyship here. We're interested in you actually helping. The second thing is what you need to start doing is refusing tacit acceptance. Tacit acceptance is remaining silent when things happen, or worse, it's joining in. People make sexist jokes and you laugh. People make sexist comments and you nod your head, or you don't say anything, but you think inwardly and you tut. It's not enough. You need to start saying things. You need to say, that's not acceptable. I was at the opening of a hotel the other day, and the woman, an interior designer, was publicly praised by the hotel owner for her work and for the hard work that she'd done on the project. And at the drinks afterwards, one of her colleagues pinched her on the bum, and I was shocked and appalled. And she said, there's no point doing anything about it because this company's just like that and nothing will happen. And I thought, if she didn't have that viewpoint, if she felt supported and felt able to stay, excuse me, that's wrong, the outcome would have been very different. But what I didn't do is ask, what can I do to help? Because saying, what can I do to help, is adding to her mental load, which takes us to the next point. Mental load is the effort you have to put into managing something or making their decisions for them. Anyone who's managed a team of people knows that running them and giving them tasks is in fact a job in itself. And if you ask someone, what can I do to help? You're giving them a mental load that they probably don't want. They're probably in shock. They've just had their bottom pinched or something. And what you need to do is work out what it is that you can do and then do it. Okay, so find out who it was who did it, report them to HR. If they're a salesperson, find out who their manager is, report them, get them taken off your account. That'll be good, because that'll lose them lots and lots of money in commission. The other reason why you should do this is because if you say, what can I do to help? Most people would say, no, nothing, don't worry about it. Intrinsically, they want to downplay the situation. And it is up to you to do something about it. If there was a road traffic accident and you saw an ambulance and the road traffic accident and someone was injured, you wouldn't say, what can I do to help? You'd call an ambulance, wouldn't you? So I'm just asking you to do the same sort of thing when you view other situations, particularly people being sexist or misogynistic towards women. So bear in mind that you have a personal responsibility to do this. This takes us to the next point, which is bystander syndrome. The more people there are who witness something, the less likely any of them are to get involved. This was recognized in the 70s. I think it's a recognized psychological phenomena. Everyone thinks to themselves, well, there's other people here. One of them will do something about it. One of them will get involved. It's not up to me. I'm not the project manager. I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to sit back quietly. And then what ends up happening is that nobody gets involved and nobody does anything. And in reality, the person who's just been victimized, made the butt of jokes, gets to feel bad and unsupported and alone. So what can you do specifically as a man in lighting? Firstly, you need to be aware that this happens, this sort of thing. You are benefiting from it and you can do something about it. Secondly, you should be aware that a woman in a less senior position isn't necessarily less hardworking or less talented. She might just have been discriminated against at some point, probably has been discriminated against at some point. You can support her, even to your own detriment. You've won, you've taken advantage, even without knowing it, and nobody's blaming you, but there are situations that you've benefited from, and now is the chance to pay it back. Push women forward to positions, advance them, even to your own detriment. Let them speak, don't talk over them. Recognize they might need a hand up. Follow and promote successful women on social media. Remember, you're not promoting these people above their ability and you're not giving them undeserved prizes. You are helping them achieve what they would have achieved in a fairer world anyway. You have the power of a man, and in the words of Spider-Man, who I like to quote, with great power comes great responsibility. What we're after is you using your power to restore equality to the system. That's all we're after. That's the end of my talk. Has been Alan. There's obviously an awful lot more online if you want to know, but it's a basic introduction. Thank you very much.